Hey, what's up? It's Greg from Fisherman's Headquarters, and today is Saturday, July 13th. I'm up here in the Mid-Island Surf, right up the street from the shop. Welcome to Ship Bottom. Welcome to the beaches of Ship Bottom here in Long Beach Island. Had a pretty awesome day here so far. It's right on sunset. Just wanted to share an updated fish report with you folks, only because I'm gonna be splitting out of town on Tuesday morning to go to ICAST. The Orlando Fishing Trade Show comes for a week. Because it's Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, awesome new stuff coming. So stay tuned to that. I'll try to put some video content up. A couple guys from the shop, Max and also Freza, will be heading down there and having a good old time. Hopefully going to get some orders in for y'all. Have some awesome new stuff for the coming year for 2025. Also have some other videos and content and some pictures that we'll be sharing. So stay tuned to our YouTube page, but also be sure to check out our Instagram and Facebook. Probably Instagram will be the most active. So be sure to follow us there on Instagram and check out our story there. If you don't follow us already, appreciate you. Also, might as well give me a follow and a subscribe. I think about more than half of the people that watch these videos, I think it's like 70%, something like that, don't subscribe. So if you want to keep these videos coming to you, you want to check them out when I first post them, be sure to subscribe to the channel. So with all that out of the way, really want to talk a little bit about the fish report, but also dive into some more details of kind of what's been going down here in Long Beach Island area and also the greater region. Right now, fishing isn't great. I shared that in the last report. There are some, say, better anglers that are dialed in, that are fishing way more hours than most. There's some anglers that just put a lot of time in. They're experts, they're Sharpies, whatever you want to call them. They're also struggling. I really don't know anybody that's reporting epic fishing or really, really great fishing. We had an awesome spring, but so far this summer, cold water's had things on the slower side. We've got a bunch of different fish species here. There's action to be taken advantage of on the Bayside and the inlet, on the surf, offshore, midshore, but nothing phenomenal. I can say that the yellowfin bite, there's some big old yellowfin that started popping up at some of the normal spots, midshore spots that we normally see this time of year. Just a few days back, there's some foggy conditions. Some captains had to battle through that. I actually went out one day pretty foggy and did some fishing, got into some, did some bottom fishing. I think I reported that maybe on the last report, I think, not really 100% sure. But yeah, there's wrecks that are loaded with the colder water species, that's sea bass, and also ling. Both of those have been pretty good so far this year. So that's kind of a fallback if you are going to route in the ocean. I did mention there's some yellowfin and bluefin offshore. There's some bigger fish and more fish, say, further off. But yeah, I also heard some marlin reports too. But as far as close in, fluke fishing has been great. There's a good abundance of shorts. Those that are weeding through them are picking up a couple keepers. I know a couple guys in the shop today said they picked up a few in the main thoroughfares in Barnegat Light. I assume they're grinding with a lot of other boats and putting the time in to say earn those bites and earn those catches. The inlet has some fish, nothing spectacular, but it is colder, much colder right now than it has normally been over the years this time of year. So the striped bass are around. There's actually a lot of tog around. That season is closed, but you can catch and release. There are fluke in the inlet. Fluke is normally really, really good time to be fluke fishing the inlet. It'll be right now, July and August, even September is a great time to be fluke fishing the inlet. So I can share that. As far as the beachfront goes, there are some fluke. There's a very, very few kingfish. Some anglers are doing better on kingfish than others. It's nothing like, say, epic kingfish action. Some anglers are catching a couple little bluefish off the beach, nothing phenomenal. You might catch a summertime, say, stray striper off the surf too, so got a couple different opportunities on the surf side. Also some sharks around. Be sure that you're following the rules with that. Don't be a total Nimrod and go fishing with heavy gear and big baits in the middle of a swimming area. Pay attention, know what's going on. Better to fish now at sunset. When no one's swimming. Fish sunset into the dark, catch a lot of nice fish, know the rules, know the prohibited species, know the regulations. Got to follow the rules. That's just kind of how things go. Also, I will hopefully have a updated blog post, an informative blog post about fishing Long Beach Island and beach access. I think I shared that last report. I've been kind of typing it for a couple weeks now. I really haven't enough time to sit down and really focus on it. Really what it's going to point out is that every town is different on LBI with beach badges, with surfing, with fishing access, just like four-wheel drive access too. So hopefully I'll have that out soon. You guys can get some more information off that. But the easiest thing to do is if you're going up to the beach, when you enter the beach badge checkers are going to be looking for badges. It's best just to have your beach badge, easiest, no trouble. Some areas, some towns technically don't need it. If you are fishing and if you are surfing, using say the water resource but not the beach, Yeah, but you have to access the beach, so it gets kind of a sticky situation. But it's just easier just to be prepared, have a beach badge, go and listen to lifeguards when they're on, say 9 to 5, I believe is the hours in most towns. Just listen to them, they're the authority, and they'll help you out, push you in the right direction. They're a bunch of awesome people. So go give them a high five, say what's up, and don't be a total prick when you're walking on the beach. With all that said, as far as I mentioned, I didn't mention anything about the Bayside. There is a little bit of fluke action there. Last report, I didn't mention anything, I don't think much about croakers. We started getting reports, say about a week, 2 weeks ago, about some croakers showing up. Seems like the south end bay is a little better. Spotter around. Both of those species have not been as abundant in the last few years. The last few years we have had a lot of blowfish. There are some people saying they're catching blowfish. I don't see any photos going around. Blowfishing hasn't been great. I noticed when I was fluke fishing the bay with gulp, I'm not getting any bites. Normally if there's a lot of blowfish around, they're tearing up your gulp. I actually switched over my last trip to live minnows. I'm doing significantly better catching nicer fluke and more fluke, fishing bait, fishing squid and minnow. That's the classic, you cannot go wrong. Spearing is also another great one. We actually had some fresh spearing in the shop the other day. Shout out to Pete and Little Petey. They went seining, put some time in, got us some bait, brought some bait to the shop. It was really kind of like a little quasi barter. They want a little bit of, you know, a little this, little that. We did a little swap. So helping out, you know, little Petey getting his quote unquote bait business started. Hopefully he'll grow with time over that and be catching all different kinds of fish over the, you know, next few years as he grows up. He's you know, young kid. I don't know. I'm just gonna ballpark 8, 10, 12, something like that. But he's active. It's good to see kids getting out and enjoying the sand, enjoying the bay, enjoying the beach, the water, and enjoying the fish. Now I want to dive into what's going on. You may see a little haze behind me. It's been foggy. That's called advection fog. What happens is you basically have warm, very warm, hot, humid conditions over the landmass. As that approaches the ocean, we've got cold water. You got the hot and cold, they clash, while boom, you've got fog, right? It's basically condensation, just like you'd have a cold glass of water and you've got a hot room, you get condensation on the outside of it. It has to do a little bit with the dew point too. I'm not a meteorologist, but I can basically share when the water's ice cold like this, and that say warm air clashes on the coast, you can see it when you approach the Causeway Bridge when you're coming on LBI. Mainland side, it's clear, it's sunny, it's a beautiful day, come on the island, and bang, it's fogged in. Sometimes it's more localized, sometimes it's more regionalized. We had a number of days where almost the whole coast were fogged in. A couple days also were just little patches. You go up to Barney Lake, it's very foggy. You go down to the inlet in the south end, it's foggy, but all of a sudden mid-beach it's not. So just be on the lookout for that. I want to swing a little bit this way so you see the swell. We do have a persistent south swell right now. The reason we have a persistent south swell is because we had persistent south winds. We had a southeast swell coming along. There's also some southern hemisphere swell coming up the pike here in a few days. I think it's next week possibly, but we got a residual swell that's been on the beaches at LBI, but it's been smaller. And for me, based on my experiences, if I see smaller swell, I'm going to say that it's lighter winds, but we've had extreme upwelling. And this is kind of where my head started spinning and where I started asking questions to what I'll call experts, some oceanographers, some biologists, some meteorologist people at Rutgers. Some of my contacts sent some emails around and got forwarded around and finally got some answers back. Basically, I wrote a blog about the upwelling. The upwelling explained why LBI gets cold water on a south wind. Everybody would think the south wind would blow up warm surface water off the ocean's surface from the south, right? You always think southerly, south of New Jersey is warmer than New Jersey. You go north, it's colder. But actually what happens is, due to the Coriolis effect, the spinning of the earth, why the toilet bowl spins in a you know, like a tornado or like a little water spout going down, the spin of the earth moves water differently. So I believe it was 1902, Van Ekman's spiral, he was a scientist, I think Norwegian or something, Swedish, something like that. He basically studied why the water wasn't moving in the same direction as the wind, and he actually found that it's moving at 45 degrees to the wind. So basically what happens is that south wind that you think is blowing south, southern warmer waters up, is actually moving it at 45 degrees, which is off the beach. So south wind's actually moving that water at a southwest westerly direction, blowing the surface water off of the beach. What happens is we have a cold pool, very, very cold water off the New York Bight, off the coast here. That cold water upwells. That's where the terminology upwelling comes from. There's also downwelling. You get the northeast winds, go 45 degrees northeast, that's basically east-southeast, blows that surface water temperature right on into the beach, and it stays nice and warm. That phenomenon we really haven't had. We haven't had a break from those conditions. I'm just gonna spin around here because I'm kind of walking too far down. right? So we haven't had a break from those conditions. What I mean by break is we've had very persistent south winds, southwest winds. It's been day after day, week after week. Looking at, say, the Barnegat Light Inlet buoy, the tide gauge, which also has a temperature gauge, you will see what I mean by ongoing upwelling. When that temperature is very high to very low, that's the warmer water coming out of the bay on the outgoing tide. The very low is the cold water being recorded from the ocean coming in. Those swings, the extreme high to extreme low, is telling you how cold the ocean is compared to how warm the bay is. And normally this time of year, you do not have water in the mid to low 50s. Today I saw that Harvest Heaters lifeguards threw up a post and they said they had 53-degree water temperatures today. Mid 50 degrees is not normal for Long Beach Island or the Jersey Shore, this region, this time of year in July. It should be even 10 degrees above that would kind of still be a little cold in the mid 60s. Yeah, New Jersey's not known for warm waters, but it is known for a cold pool. And really what you're seeing here today and throughout the weeks and the season so far this summer is the dynamics of the ocean and how that cold pool shows with different wind patterns. What I kind of dove into was the fact that normally what I see as a surfer and fisherman is dirty brown water in a south swell, on a south wind, on an upwelling event. I normally see bigger swell from prolonged strong winds. The stronger the wind and the more consistent or the larger area, it's called a fetch, builds a bigger swell. I would think if we had such a radical upwelling event that we'd also have a much more radical swell event too. We haven't had very large surf. Yeah, we've had persistent 2 to 3, maybe 4 foot here and there at the right tides, the right days. You know, but for the most part, we haven't had head-high south swells. We get them all the time when we get these southerly blows and we get a big upwelling event. You get brown water, bigger swell coming hard out of the south, but it hasn't happened. I dove in, I shared this information. Also, when you go offshore, a lot of times you'll see that surface temperature then changes in the boat when you head off, say 5, 7, 10 miles. Right now, the water's kind of even cold out to the ridge. Yeah, there's some pockets of warmer water coming in, but for the most part, I feel we got a little bit of issue going on here. And what I mean by that is the Labrador current is taking over. I'm walking at the water's edge right now. My feet are ice cold, ice cold. Like I said, it's surf temperature in the mid 50s. That's gonna make these little pockets behind me. There's a sandbar here, it's dead low tide here, but there's a pocket, I'll just spin around. Right there's a beautiful pocket of water. That should be holding fluke right now. I'll spin back this way, big sandbar behind me, and there's a pocket back there, right over there. That should hold fluke right now. It should be holding kingfish, should be holding fish. The problem is these fish are so lethargic, they're not active, they're not biting like mad dogs. That's why I'm fishing live bait, that's why I'm fishing meteor baits. Slow down your retrieve, slow down your approach. But diving back into the science side of things here, I should be seeing warmer water further out, say within reason, 5 miles, but we're not. And for that reason is why I reached out to the scientists and why I said, hey, do we have a more dominant Labrador current right now? And they said that is a very good hypothesis. Basically, the Gulf Stream comes up the coast, south to north. It actually sends a lot of the weather off to Europe. It dictates a lot of the climate for Europe. It's warm energy coming up. It's also very salty. There's warmer water. You're gonna have more evaporation. The salt stays in the water. The colder water is less salty, so less salinity in the Labrador current that comes from north to south. Normally, you get some energy spinning off of the Gulf Stream right now that spins in eddies and spins in warm water into the coastal regions or mid-shore regions that gives awesome fishing. That's why tuna fishing gets so good certain times of the year. Anglers are going offshore looking for that water. They're looking to fish these eddies. They're looking to fish these temp breaks where there's nutrient-rich water, where there's warm water, and there's breaks of cold water, and where there's blends and there's breaks. That's where the fish are. What's happening right now, from what I see, and also is kind of confirmed with some of the scientists at Rutgers, is that there is sort of a hypothesis that maybe I came up with and I sparked it on them. But right now we've got a much more dominant Labrador current. That's the cold water current that's coming down the coast and staying more dominant in the nearshore waters. The Gulf Stream, which is more warm and it's much stronger, it's further offshore. So what's happening is, when these upwelling events occur, it's happening, it's a little bit. It's not a major upwelling event that's giving us this broad change. And that's why I think if we get a little bit of onshore winds, it might take a lot more time to settle back in with a quote unquote normal downwelling fix or repair, which we're used to seeing. What you'll see in this colder water is it's clean. It's gin clear. If it was upwelling, it would not be gin clear. It's never been. I'm no expert, but that's just what I see. Normally I'm surfing brown water, I'm fishing brown water when it's upwelling. It is clean and clear, and woo, it is cold. Wowzers. It is also very, very low in salinity. Now, I don't know much about salinity in fish, but I'm gonna hypothesize and say they don't like it. And the reason I say this is when I'm in the bay and I'm fluke fishing and we get a heavy rain event, which we just had some flooding rain, normally the bite is off. The water can get dirty, but the salinity drops, and a lot of times these fish, I think, go dormant, they go lethargic, they go lockjaw, whatever you wanna call it, they're not biting. I don't wanna go out on a limb and say the salinity is thrown off the fishing and the temperature's thrown off the fishing, but for sure it's thrown off the fishing, in my opinion. So I'll leave it at that. Hopefully that brings some information to you. If you want to check out my blog about the upwelling and the cold water explained, I did it a couple years ago and it's still valid, just as accurate and valid as it was a couple years ago today. And I will probably, hopefully do an update to that and throw a little, say some data, some charts and such into that to share a little updated information from this year, which has been much, much longer prolonged. Normally a week-long, say, event is long, or say 2 weeks, but we've had a month, almost 2 months of this. And honestly, I don't see any break in sight, which is a little bit scary on the fishing front. So we gotta adapt ourselves and we gotta work through these conditions that we have in front of us to better catch fish and better approach and better, have a better time fishing. And the reason why I say I don't see it changing is, one, I see lots of south wind in the forecast. We've got a Bermuda high right now. Anybody knows anything about, say, weather, meteorology, whatnot, that high pressure spinning out there and it's sending south winds basically from Bermuda. It's sitting over, hovering out in the central-ish western Atlantic, and it's just twisting and spinning, and it's keeping a persistent southerly flow heading at us, heading towards us. We also have the southerly sea breezes that also kick up in addition to that southerly, say, trend. Because it's cold, because it's hot, the air fills in, and it fills in the void, right? Heat rises, so that cold water, the air stays kind of stable. That heat rises over the mainland, it fills in, it gives us an onshore breeze. A lot of times, because LBI faces a little in the more southerly direction than, say, north on Island Beach State Park and north of there in Monmouth County, we get the onshore southerlies. They sometimes get the more southeast or easterlies. And that's actually another reason why this is, to me, it's more of a current-based thing going on, as well as upwelling. A lot of times Monmouth County is not as strongly affected by these upwelling events. And right now, it's ice cold up there. So I'm not fishing up there. Maybe you are. You can share below what the water temperature is now, what you're used to seeing. But with all these different factors together, yes, there's upwelling happening. You can beat the band about upwelling, upwelling, upwelling. We got a whole lot more just upwelling going on, in my opinion. And also, like I said, I confirmed that with a couple scientists. We got some different things going on. So we got to work around it. We got to make things happen. Like I mentioned before, fish slower, be more patient, fish live bait, fish meteor baits, fish slower, maybe even fish some smaller baits might be another option. Try to fool these lethargic fish that are kind of sleeping on bottom, staying, say, warm in their habitat, laying low. We need to get them active. A friend of mine and I were talking. I was thinking about maybe trying to do some chumming, trying to spice up some fish, get them a little more fired up. I chum for winter flounder. I've never chummed for summer flounder. Summer flounder, normally there's other critters like spot, croakers, blowfish that will tear you up when you start chumming, but there's really not that many blowfish around. And you know what? If I catch some blowfish, awesome. Not gonna complain about that. But once again, there's fishing taking place here. There's fishing opportunities here in the bay, the inlet, off the surf, in the boat, all over the place. But it's not epic fishing. I try to call a spade as much as I can. I try to provide the most accurate reports day in, day out, week in, week out, month in, month out, year in, year out, decade in, decade out. That's what I'm here for. Trying to help out anglers like you and all the folks out there to catch more fish and enjoy their time on the water, and enjoy their precious time that they have off of work, or if they're taking the family out, friends, whatnot. You got to go out and have some fun. That's what it's all about. Enjoy life. Hope you're having an awesome summertime season. And like I said at the beginning of this, I'm going to ICAST on Tuesday, so I'll be out of town. Hopefully one of the guys at the shop might want to jump in and share an updated fish report. We'll see how that plays. If you're still watching, I appreciate you hanging on here for almost 19 minutes and listening to me kind of ramble through some things. Hopefully it brought you some value. Hopefully it brings you value today and throughout the entire season and next season to go, because upwelling is a very, very important thing. Knowing how the winds and how the weather conditions change things and how the dynamics work is very, very important to success. And I think it helps me out as a fisherman, as an angler. So once again, it's Greg at Fisherman's Headquarters. Be sure to subscribe, be sure to share, be sure to drop a comment down below. Fish on. Get out there and have a great day. Enjoy yourself fishing.